Have you heard I was a persecutor of the church? Yes. Did you ever ask yourself why? Why I was persecutor of the church? No? I will tell you. Number one, these people that were following Jesus, we call them the way. They followed Jesus. They were calling him the Messiah. This man who came from Nazareth. In my day, we had a saying, no good could come from Nazareth. And they were saying that this man from Nazareth was the Messiah. And I said to myself, and I said to anyone who would listen, he can't be the Messiah because no good can come from Nazareth. And secondly, he was hung on a tree. He was executed on a tree, a crucifix, like a common criminal he was killed. I would never believe that the Messiah of my peoples would die on a cross like a common criminal. And lastly, many of these people following Jesus the way, they were talking in the temple, in the synagogues, and they were speaking up. And they were telling people, you don't have to follow the law. We were raised to follow the law. The law, the 613 laws we had, was how we remained in the covenant between God and Abraham. We need to follow the laws. And these people, these followers of Jesus, were telling people, you don't need to follow the law. So I heard of this man, Stephen, and I was speaking out against Stephen when he was speaking in the synagogue. Well, a group of peoples were very angry. And they took Stephen, they dragged him through the streets of Jerusalem, and they stoned him to death. Have you heard of Stephen? Let me tell you, I did not throw even one stone, but I am just as guilty as if I threw every one of the stones. It was my words. It was what I said that motivated them to do this. It was my words. Now, some people think that I did this all on my own. That I just decided, all right, I don't like this person, I don't like what this person says, so I am going to, on my own, I am going to go and I am going to persecute them. Did you know that I got permission? I went to the temple authorities. I got permission before I did anything I did. I went and got permission. For example, there was a group in Damascus. Have you heard of Damascus? Yes, there was a group of the followers of Jesus, the way in Damascus, and they were saying things wrong and leading peoples in the wrong direction. And I told the peoples at the temple authorities, and they gave me a letter. Did you know they gave me a letter? A letter that had the names of peoples for me to go into Damascus, bring these peoples back so they could stand trial. I did this with the permission of the temple authorities. So a group of us, we gathered together, we had our letter, and we were setting off to Damascus. Now, this time of year, it is very, very hot, and the wind is blowing, and it's a dry wind. The sand is so dry that it gets into your nose, your nostrils, it gets into your throat, and you're coughing, you're trying to get the sand out, and that's why we have the cloth. Many times we would wrap the cloth around our face to keep the sand from getting into our mouth and into our throats, and so we would have this cloth, and we would make the journey. Well, this one day, the wind was blowing so hard. The sand was flying everywhere. I could barely see my hand in front of my face. I could barely see my friends I was traveling with. And then all of a sudden, as we're walking down that road on the way to Damascus, there was this thunderous noise and a light. Never in my life had I seen such a light. The light was so bright, the noise was so loud, I fell to the ground. And I'm on the ground and I'm calling to my friends. I said, are you fine? I cannot see you. And I put my hands in front of my face to wipe the sand, and I can't even wipe the sand. It's so thick, and I can't see my hands, and I'm calling to my friends, where are you? I cannot see you. And then I heard a voice. It was a voice from the heavens. It says, Saul. It was calling to me. It was calling out to my name. It said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And I looked around. I could see nothing. And I said, who is that? Who is calling to me? Who is that? The voice said, it is I. He said, it is I, Jesus. The one you have been persecuting, it is I. And I called out, I said, what do you mean it is you? What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? And he says this, he says, I want you to go to Damascus, and a man will come to you. And I said to my friends, I said, did you hear that? Did you hear that voice? Did you hear that? And they said to me, they heard nothing. They said, all they heard was the thunder. They heard no voice. And I said, it was Jesus. It was Jesus, the one we have been persecuting. He came, he spoke to me. Did you not hear that? And they said, we heard nothing but the thunder. And I said, he wants us to go to Damascus. You must lead me. I cannot see. For 3 days, I was blind. I could not see. I did not eat. I did not drink for 3 days. At the end of 3 days, I was there in a house. I was laying on the bed. And I heard someone at the door. He came in. And I called out. I said, who is that? Who is there? And the man walked toward me. He said to me, he says, my name is Ananias. He said, I have been sent to you by the Jesus you met on the road. Ananias' name was on my list. He was one of the ones I came to arrest, and he came to me. And he walked over to me, and he put his hands onto my eyes, and he began to pray. And just as he began to pray, the scales that dropped from my eyes, and I could see him. And I got out of bed and I fell to my knees and I said to him, please forgive me. And he put his hands onto my shoulders. And he said to me, you are already forgiven. How could I be forgiven for what I did? How could I be forgiven for things which are unforgivable in our law? And he looked at me and he said, when you turn your life to Jesus, no matter what you've done, you are forgiven. Do you know, I dropped to my knees. He baptized me right there. Right there I was baptized in the name of Jesus. And from that very moment, I decided that for the rest of my life, I was going to tell the world of Jesus. With the same zeal I persecuted the church, I was now going to raise up this Jesus, the Jesus who did die on that cross for us. I was going to tell the world about him.